We'll do it live. We'll do it live!
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
YouTube has redefined media, journalism, and how we digest information, from current events to recreational hobbies. With the rise of .com and digital computers, it's not a stretch to say YouTube may be the most influential and consequential digital platform devised. What we call legacy media, such as Fox News, CNN, CBS, has had the backing of huge corporations, advertisers. After Reagan's FCC dismantled the 1949 Fairness Doctrine, a requirement for media companies to present information, news, in good faith, with the expectation that all sides be covered on issues important to public interest, we saw the creation of Fox News and the explosion of partisan media.
Here we are in this year, 2001. Do you think the majority of the American people are racist people?
Do I think a majority of the people in America are racist people? I certainly would hope not.
The late 20th century had accelerated media's potential as a lucrative vehicle for profits and political influence. But with the rise of the internet, YouTube offered a new vehicle for information, something separate. A democratized system where independence and transparency was promised. But the promise of transparency and journalistic integrity didn't work out the way we hoped. Here's where we're at today.
What are you saying about babies? Like, what are they doing with babies?
You saw the governor of Virginia say, we keep babies alive after they're born and kill them, right?
Well, I didn't see that.
We keep them comfortable.
It's no secret YouTube's political media and punditry has merely accelerated the form of legacy media. In 2024, it was found that YouTubers such as Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, and Dave Rubin were being paid up to a whopping $400,000 a month by a shell company tied to Russia, with the goal of moving American political disposition in favor of the Kremlin. We've seen wealthy billionaires in cooperation with the Republican Party funneling money into media organizations who promote policy that will benefit their pocketbook, such as Turning Point USA. Even outside of New Age media, a lawsuit targeting Fox News for their coverage of the 2020 election, their attorneys argued Fox News was immune to litigation because it's entertainment, not news. It's no secret the Republican Party has been ahead of the curve in the understanding that journalism or news media power isn't of speaking practical truth or fact, but of platforming influence.
Well, did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
Billions have flooded conservative media groups and organizations. The Republican Party understands the political landscape is akin to a new pop media spectacle. And the Republican Party further understands many of the heads of these platforms know little about policy.
Obama was probably a good time though too. No,
well, he was. I think. Look,
I don't agree with everything he did, but Obama's still cool.
Look, first of all, Obama was.
Like he has aura. You know what that means?
Yeah, I do.
But political guests generate immediate, instantaneous revenue, and their audiences, along with said host, are equally gullible. Yet, the Democratic Party hasn't changed their communication strategy in decades. But after the 2024 election, that's changing fast. Yet, behind the scenes, the result is something deeply concerning. On August 27th of 2025, Taylor Lorenz broke a massive story on a dark money group named the 1630 Fund and their relationship with a small media and influencer group called Chorus. This is one of those rare stories that has really stuck with me, and I suspect for many here, it will do the same. The 1630 Fund is a non-profit interest group created in 2009 to counteract the huge swaths of money being funded to the Republican Party from billionaires and the Koch brothers. The 1630 Fund funds various groups, PACs, and other organizations involved in center-to-center left political organizing. After the loss of the 2024 election, they sought to fund online centrist, center-left, or simply DNC-aligned influencers. They wanted to do this by giving money to the very same media group, Chorus. The influencers include Brian Tyler Cohen, David Pakman, Olivia Juliana, Suzanne Lambert, and other creators platformed throughout TikTok, YouTube, and other social media. Chorus was also funded in part and directly organized by the same Tyler Brian Cohen. Now, we should be clear, minus any dark, undisclosed money, nothing here is out of the norm nor inherently unethical. Journalists, artists, and specific media personalities do work within non-profit groups and at times do receive stipends. Taylor Lorenz herself has been open about being an investee of the Omidyar Network's Reporters in Residence program, a program that helps support independent freelance journalists who cover issues that wouldn't normally be covered in the larger media landscape. But regarding the 1630 Fund, something else is going on here. This fund, through Chorus, is offering political influencers $8,000 a month, but with a huge caveat. You must not report your relationship with Chorus nor the 1630 Fund without explicit consent. According to legal documents reviewed by Wired, creators are required to, quote, prohibit standard partnership disclosures, declaring that creators will not publicize their relationship with Chorus or tell others that they are members of the program without Chorus's prior express consent. We know the 1630 Fund is a dark money fund. It doesn't need to, and often refuses to disclose donors. This now places Chorus, a seemingly benign, helpful media influencer group, as a core benefactor of said dark money. But, according to the Wired article, this mandate of control gets much heavier, such that, quote, creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources that they receive as part of the program to make content that supports or opposes any political candidate or campaign without express authorization from Chorus in advance and in writing per the contract. One other concerning piece of information was a recording of a Zoom call where a lawyer for Chorus said the following: "It gives us the ability to raise money from donors, but also, with this structure, it avoids a lot of the public disclosure or public disclaimers, you know, paid for by blah 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 blah, that you see on political ads. We don't need to deal with any of that. Your names aren't showing up on, like, reports filed with the FEC." If true, this shows a clear disregard for transparency within Chorus's leadership, that disclosures to the public are seen as a hindrance rather than a necessary part of an ethical process. In a leaked group chat, there were other creators who expressed concern and disappointment with Chorus's and the 1630 Fund's contract and stipulations. A TikToker under the handle Women in America stated, reading through this revised Chorus contract like, you win some, you lose some. And later in the thread, I also think there's at least 4 other things that should change, but the vibe I got from their email was that there would be minimal, if any, changes. In response, another liberal influencer, Aaron Parnas, he replied, "They aren't going to modify it anymore. Seems like take it or leave it." Another anonymous creator who was invited but declined the offer with the fear their platform could be policed. If I get Zoran and he wants to do an interview with me, I don't want to give that to them. It's clear, among the creators, there was concern around integrity and the ability to create without potential oversight of a large political fund that might dictate content according to the party lines of the DNC. Now, this is where we would normally progress into hearing the responses from Chorus and some of their creators. And while we will do that, this requires a different approach. And frankly, some of the responses shocked me. Primarily because they weren't really responses. You'll see what I mean.
At the risk of giving an internet troll more attention, I want to address a piece that Taylor Lorenz wrote yesterday for Wired. An initiative aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. Literally nothing in this statement is true. The article is about Chorus, which is a nonprofit that I helped found to build up a creator ecosystem, which everybody says they want, but few are doing.
Brian Tyler Cohen is the co-founder of Chorus and host of one of the largest YouTube political news channels. He makes videos on current political events and often hosts legal experts to elaborate on specific legislation or court rulings. For years I have watched videos of his, particularly the ones he calls Legal Breakdown and Democracy Watch, and I've always found them genuinely insightful and helpful. Yet, he starts off with an ad hominem calling Taylor Lorenz an internet troll. This further poisons the well, which is a fallacious tactic that discredits one before they can speak. Brian then states there is nothing in the contract that could police content, and quote,
I don't know a single creator who would willfully sign up for a program that would tell them what they can or can't say. That's not what this program is.
This directly contradicts the thread of creators expressing concern about not being able to disclose their relationship to the 1630 fund, and how creators must run bookings with all public officials and lawmakers through Chorus, which, according to lawyers at Wired, was an explicit part of the contract. He then says this.
Lorenz says that the 1630 Fund is, quote, a powerful liberal dark money group. 1630 Fund is our fiscal sponsor. One of the largest documented donors to 1630 Fund is the same person funding Meteor's Reporters in Residence program, which Taylor Lorenz herself is a part of. And guess what her monthly stipend is? $8,000 per month. So she's criticizing an entity that is funded by someone that she is currently taking money from. I guess it's okay when Taylor Lorenz gets paid, but no one else.
First, we should point out, the 1630 Fund is 150% a dark money fund with ties to the DNC, particularly with affiliations to for-profit consulting firms in Washington, D.C. Further, the Omidyar Network's Reporters in Residency program doesn't receive funds from external, unreported sources. It comes directly from the network, and Lorenz has been open about receiving a stipend in support for her work. Now, in our discussion around transparency, it's easy to see sometimes things are too transparent. For nearly all of us, our data is often sold and available to anyone. Your address, your workplace, family members. This information is often used for scams and, under severe circumstances, stalking and targeted crime. If you don't believe me, go on a search engine and search for your information. It's way easier than you think. Because of this, identity theft has also risen by 211% from 2023 to 2024, and it's an industry facilitated by data brokers. Yet, with the help of our sponsor today, Incogni, you can remove your data from these brokerages. Incogni scans a large database for your information, and, if detected, deletes said data on your behalf. Further, if you find a website with your information, you can request a custom removal, and Incogni will take care of it. I highly suggest everyone give Incogni a try, and for this video, Incogni is offering 60% off with the code Epoch or with the link below. But it doesn't end here. David Pakman, another large political news host, reacted in a similarly vague way. In a video titled, "They Are Trying to Take Us Down," he defends his relationship with Chorus as a benign incubator program, but doesn't address the tangible claim of dark money. He then follows up with another video claiming he may sue, albeit doesn't even specify exactly who. In the same video, he oddly lies about not knowing how to pronounce APAC,
suggesting that it's APAC or IPAC. I don't even know how it's pronounced. APAC, IPAC.
The immediate follow-up responses in the comments were, "It's not so-called dark money. It literally is dark money. Yes, as so-called independent media, you need to disclose where you're getting money from. That's your duty to your viewers. You could be 100% correct, but the way you handle it makes it look shady." One of the defining things we see in Brian Tyler Cohen's and Pakman's channels is their claim being their platforms are independent media. In Brian's YouTube About section, it explicitly states, Brian Tyler Cohen is one of the most viewed independent progressive political hosts on YouTube, and Pacman's About section states something similar. One of the most watched independent progressive programs in the country. Independent media is publication of any sort that is separate from corporate and state influence. Being a part of any media incubator program that receives funds from a non-disclosed group that has vested interest in the Democratic Party's success is not independent media. This isn't a moralistic point, but a practical one. Perhaps the philosophy here is that since the Republican Party and its donors have successfully funneled millions into online platforms, infinitely more than the Democratic Party, the rational, utilitarian approach is to fight fire with fire. Yet, I think we should be deeply skeptical of this logic. There's a lesson here in media analysis and its intersection with state power. Someone like Louis Althusser illustrates this well. In his 1970 work, Ideology and Ideological State Apparatuses, he correctly points out the state doesn't just utilize power by physically repressive means such as the military, the police, and legal systems, but by institutions such as schools, the flow of finance, and the media. And the propagation of said ideology isn't just by what we say or think. The view that we partake in rational discourse and come to newer, better, more sane conclusions. Our ideology is primarily molded by the material and economic structures we live within or operate within. The sequencing is important here. The structures we live in inform what we debate, how we debate, the lens in which debate can exist. This extends to what is covered by media. This is a larger point on economic and political structures, but on the micro level, organizations operate this way. The money you take and infrastructure you build will inherently change your organization with time. Think about places like the Washington Post and the New York Times. They appear, perhaps less so with time, as outlets to facilitate journalism, news, and information, but they are so enmeshed within structures of mass profit, genuine journalism becomes secondary, something to keep the myth alive while underneath its true goal grows: money. We as a population may not understand ideology in this exact lens, but absolutely do not mistake this. The people bankrolling any dark money fund, such as the 1630 Fund, do. And by bankrolling media, even without the mandated secrecy, you control the frame in which information can be disseminated. Thus, we shouldn't be too surprised when one of the largest players in chorus then come out with this.
I'm interested in your perspective right now on the progressive movement. And the reason I want to talk to you about this is I see you, really, when people ask me, who do you see right now as the sort of progressive that you like to be at the head of this movement going forward, I think of you.
For context, this guy, Richie Torres, has taken over $1 million from AIPAC and is one of the most ardent defenders of the far-right regime in Israel that's executing a genocide. Even a comedian did a better job at probing Torres' ethics and insights as a congressman.
That Hamas is a terrorist organization for murdering innocent children and civilians.
How many civilians have been killed in this war?
The war is a tragedy, but
90% of them have been. But 90% of them have been civilians. They've killed journalists. They've killed journalists.
People have been killed in a war. It's been a tragedy.
They've killed people waiting for aid.
But you're suggesting that it is the policy of the Israeli government to murder civilians, and that is a notion that I reject.
You gotta listen, man. You gotta be like a human being about this.
The dark money plot here is to influence by way of new, secretive campaign finance. A researcher and political scientist, Elizabeth Dubois, has written on this specific subject. In a University of Ottawa research report, she highlights a global trend of political influencers as news facilitators. It's also a new vehicle for political campaigns to bypass states' campaign finance laws. The report states, first, influencers are often paid indirectly through intermediaries such as talent agencies or media companies, even when paid directly by politicians or parties. This exchange can be done through unregistered means or compensated with other non-monetary incentives, as seen in the Data Boys case. These indirect forms of compensation make it harder to determine who is responsible for campaign activities. I'll leave a link to the report in the description. This is the final mold of two industries, political finance and punditry, and this result confuses us. Most understand something is wrong, information only partially true. A friend of the channel and YouTuber Michael Burns did a fantastic video on the rise of conspiracy theories and how the feeling that something is deeply wrong with existing narratives is technically correct. The American dream, the economic freedom of American capitalism, foundational ideology siphoned into yesterday's myth. Americans are just wildly uninformed and uneducated around civics and public policy. Thus, they rely on conspiratorial thinking to connect the emotional dots. Relating to Althusser, there's a reason we have seen a massive ideological rightward shift in tandem with worsening livelihoods for American workers since the 1980s. The rightward shift isn't because there's merely more right-wing political pundits, like the Democratic political consultants want you to believe. The issue itself is political punditry as a medium, something bred out of the deregulatory, neoliberal policies of the Reagan era. And it's something dark money and campaign finance are banking on to subvert genuine journalism. YouTube has exacerbated the issue of mass media in relation to public policy. It hasn't emancipated us from the corporate or industrialized throes of it. It's allowed the worst parts of our political systems to obfuscate. On a larger scale, this is capitalism absorbing whatever crumbs left of a system spiraling downward, consuming political campaigns, the vestiges of democracy we have left. The strategy to emulate the Republicans' bull-rushing billionaire money to political influencers isn't a real strategy. The point isn't for the Democratic Party to win, stave off the scourge of reactionary, vile politics. It's to control the frame in which our political communications can exist. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. This video was different, but I hope you found it interesting and informative nonetheless. If you enjoy these videos, consider pledging just a few dollars a month on Patreon and our website. You'll get access to ad-free, uncensored videos, and help keep the whole thing going. I want to give a huge shout out to these supporters in particular, Jay Roberts, Cedric Watman, and Billy E. Gregor. Thank you guys so much. See you all in the next.